We actually have a funny story. Let's jump to this next story. Do I actually have it? I do. Here it is.
Do have it.
Oh yeah. This is kind of funny.
Wealthy tenants are squatting in multi-million-dollar homes in the Hamptons and refusing to pay rent after NY issued a non-eviction order due to the coronavirus crisis.
Of course.
I will simultaneously say these people are extremely lucky, and they're also really bad people. So I'll give you the gist of the story. When the breakdown, when the lockdown started happening, wealthy people in New York fled, leaving behind all the poor people, all the shuttered businesses,
right.
And they go to the Hamptons. Then New York State says moratorium on evictions. So the people who are in these big mansions now are like,
sweet.
I was only planning on being here until August.
Yeah.
You can't evict me. I'm not paying.
Yep.
There you go.
That's crazy.
So basically, I bring this up in the context of, with these lockdowns, cities are, it's almost like a pressure is being applied to them that's forcing people out in various directions.
Yeah.
All of the wealthy people, though. What will this end up doing to these cities? They're going to lose massive political power. They're probably going to end up losing congressional seats because it's a census year. It's going to change the ideology of so many people. They take so many things for granted. And then I wonder if 2024, it's going to be, 538 Republican vote.
Yeah.
Like everybody is, when I heard that story of people in New York and LA like flocking to gun stores,
Yeah.
I laughed.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. All of a sudden now a crisis happens and they all instantly become Second Amendment advocates. Yeah. Let's read this story and see what the wealthy people are up to. And we'll talk, then we'll talk about New York collapsing. Some wealthy tenants in the Hamptons are using New York State's non-eviction order to squat in luxury while weathering out the coronavirus crisis, local landlords have claimed. One homeowner, who chose to remain anonymous but identified as middle class, said that short-term renters are overstaying at his property in Sag Harbor and refusing to pay rent. Properties in the Hamptons rent for much less in the winter and early spring months when the coronavirus outbreak began, but can ask for thousands more in the summer months. We're not talking about poor people, the anonymous individual told the Post. It's a very modest Sag Harbor house, and we use our summer rental to pay our son's school. The squatter was paying $3,600 a month between October and March, but claimed he didn't have rent for April and dismissed the homeowner's request to vacate the property. The landlord said he is now looking at huge losses for the year, $15,000 in May alone, with an extra $55,000 between Memorial Day and Labor Days. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has postponed rent payments until at least the 20th of August to help those struggling during the coronavirus crisis. The owner believes his tenants are using it as a free stay in his Long Island property.
Oh, that's definitely what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Similar scenes are playing out along the string of affluent seaside communities. A female landlord in Watermill said her tenants, a mother and daughter, stopped paying their $1,600 rent in March when Governor Cuomo announced the move. This is what people do. Why would anybody pay if they were told they didn't have to? They don't care about you.
Exactly.
The government said, don't pay. I'm not going to pay. That's crazy, man. There's no community left. So I'm really curious about where this all ends up. They're talking about the new normal, What's the new normal after this? No one shakes hands anymore. We all bow.
Yeah,
we act very Asian-like.
Yeah, maybe.
Lots of masks.
A lot of masks. It is. The customs, people wear masks more often. They don't shake hands. They bow. And that'll be just inherent social distancing. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if it also, the new normal is going to be New York loses 3 congressional seats. I'm exaggerating greatly. They've lost 420,000 wealthy people.
Yeah.
But how many other people have fled the city? How many people have left Los Angeles or spread out? Maybe this was going to, greatly. I mean, look, I'm talking about getting out of Jersey, a blue state, and going somewhere else where I can be free, and not have to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
So these people are absolutely taking advantage of this, and I these are New York City folk, man. I'm not surprised. When given the opportunity, they take advantage. They're not poor. They don't want to pay. They won't.
Yep.
They say the homeowner has cancer and is looking to start chemotherapy soon.
Oh.
She said she is afraid she will lose her home and doesn't know how she'll cope with the stress of that and treatment. She could be earning $90,000 this summer, she told the Post, and she even offered the tenants a one-off payment to coax them out before peak season. And now, there we go. I've offered money to leave and even found her other places to move to that she could afford, but they aren't in the Hamptons, and she is refusing to leave, the tenant said.
Gosh.
She added, this is when we make our money in the summer. The tenant is looking for a free ride in the Hamptons. I'm really confused by this story because I don't know exactly how like Antifa and the far left will react to it.
Yeah.
Who am I supposed to be mad at? The rich people refusing to pay their fair share or the wealthy landlords from the Hamptons?
Right.
It's just rich people refusing to
Pay rich
pay
people?
each other.
What the heck?
It reminds me of this article that I read. It was silly. It was basically this person complaining that they found out they were being overcharged for everything from their private jet. Like everything costs way too much. They're overcharging me on my every service on my private jet, and I was just like, "What are you? Who are you talking to? Like, who is this article
Who's
for?"
reading it?
Yeah, what?
I'm not your target audience.
I don't care.
I don't
The seven
know.
people-
You have the money. What does it matter? Pay
What are
it.
you complaining
I don't
about?
care.
You know what's really really weird
Come
about
on.
there really is this really interesting class divide.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people who do almost no work and make ridiculous amounts of money just because of the class they are in.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. If you're lower class and you make minimum wage and then you are like, hey, look, I made this necklace. Someone will be like, I'll give you $5 for it. If you are upper class and you're sitting on the beach of, you're in what's that place in Spain? I can't think of the name.
Ibiza.
Ibiza.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
I knew what you were talking about.
Yes, Ibiza. So you're sitting on this crystal, shore, clear waters.
Yep.
And you lean over and you're like, I made this beautiful necklace. Ooh, I want it. How much? $1,000. Okay.
Oh.
That's seriously what it's like.
Yep.
It's amazing. So I know people who are just in the upper class and they talk about a basic job that normally would be cheaper, but because they're rich,
Yep.
they simply just charge that much money. And it's like they all pay it to each other, so it creates this economy at an upper level. And once you break into that, then you can bask in that as well. And there are other ways to make a lot of money, volume and stuff. But it's fascinating to me when I've met people who are like, I'm going to get a job starting at this tech firm. I know the person who runs it. They're going to pay 6 figures, and I'm like, why would they do that? That's just because they're all part of the same class.
Who
and,
do you know?
And it's also like the clothes you make,
Yep.
right? Like look at Gwyneth Paltrow's stuff.
Oh,
Like is the goop stuff she makes in any way that special?
It's gross.
it's
Do you
very
ever
gross.
see you ever see the show called The Real Hustle?
No.
It was a British show. I think it was British, and it was 3 con artists explaining various cons. It's an awesome show. One of them, they rent a pop-up storefront, and they bought like Lubriderm lotion,
Okay.
and they just repackage it in these tiny little bottles, and they give it a brand name like Mountain Mist Made,
Okay.
and then they sell it for like $30, and they just brag about how it's the best.
Yeah.
And people pay for it.
Wow.
And that's kind of like what it is when you're doing trade among people who are poor, you can only ask for so much because of how much they have. When you're doing trade among people who are rich, you can ask for obscene amounts of money because they just have it and they pay what they, disposable income. Like, oh yes, absolutely. And so then you have a lot of people, man, I know some people who are rich and work like once every 3 years.
It's crazy.
Yep. They'll be like, I got one project to work on this week, and then they get 300 grand, and then they're like, I just, spread it out over 3 years. Just, $8,000 a month to spend and do whatever I want, fly around, take, every weekend, fly to Europe for a vacation and then fly back and just do one thing every few years. And that's how it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the people that are making decisions too. Those are the people that are in charge. They're the ones in the government. They get a hold of that. They like you said, it's like you can get into that and then you become used to it. And that's the type of mentality you gain.
Absolutely.
Also. So these officials, they might champion for the people, but then they get in there and then they're like, all right, now I'm on a different stage, a different level. So I'm gonna stay here and I don't want to lose this power. And I'm gonna make decisions for everyone.
AOC's a great example.
Exactly.
Everyone makes fun of her because she was a bartender, and I'm like, I actually think that's kind of endearing.
Yeah.
That she was a regular American and she won, and now she's in Congress.
Now.
Yeah, right. Now she squanders all of that goodwill
Right.
by being an insufferable, what's the word I'm looking for? Just desperate for fame and attention.
Yeah.
Ostentatious. Very, very, very much that. She goes on Twitter and she says things that are bombastic and insightful, and it's just doing nothing for nobody.
Inciting.
I think she might lose. New York is going to be a transformed place.
Yeah.
I think she might lose, man. I watched a part of that debate that she did with that other lady, and I feel like she's going to lose
Hope so.
because she's an internet candidate. She's not a candidate of a place.
Yeah,
She's Twitter's candidate.
that's a good point.
Twitter is not going to elect her, though.
No,
It's her district that'll elect her.
and good.
Yeah, seriously.
Yep. We've all seen what Twitter is like. But I can't predict. I can see so many potential futures. What could happen after all this is over.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to know. It's hard to know. I absolutely don't. Can only just speculate. Will with losing 420,000 people, rich people who are now squatting in the Hamptons in a census year, does that mean what in 2022 that New York City loses a district?
Probably.
It could be AOC's. They've been talking about getting rid of her district.
Oh, already?
Yeah. And what about all these other cities? Or better yet, what if people already filled out their census and are now gone permanently? And so now you have smaller populations with disproportionate amount of power. And then you'll end up seeing really weird things from this. Like New York City has less people, but somehow is overrepresented. And then you'll end up with an inversion where the popular vote goes to the Republican because there's more people outside of cities.
It might, okay, so I was thinking about this while you were talking. It might go that way because the people who have to stay in the city are the people who do the blue collar jobs, the essential workers. And those people tend to be less college educated, which I'm going to say it, they tend to vote Republican. They tend to be conservative. So when the time comes for them to vote, they're going to vote Republican. And we're going to see, I think you're right. I think it's going to flip. It's going to be really weird.
Flip in what way do you mean, though?
Toward the Republicans.
Like New York City?
Yeah, like that region.
I think AOC's district could turn red.
I'm curious.
Because normally, like when she ran, there was no real Republican contender because it's a D+30 district.
Okay.
But I think it's possible that AOC it's possible. I'm not saying to what percentage I know for sure, but she's so unpopular. It's possible she's so unpopular that now that you see all these Republicans are running, they launch real campaigns, generate real support, and then win.
Yeah.
So I know it's a D+30 district, but AOC, I think she only got like, I don't how many can you look up how many votes she got?
17,000, I thought?
No, in the general.
Oh, yeah, I'll look.
In the general
Yeah,
election.
1 sec.
So I think it was something like 170 maybe, I'm not entirely sure, out of 750,000. That means even though it's a D+30 district, if the 20 or 30% of Republicans who lived there actually all voted,
Yeah.
they'd win.
Yeah.
And a district in New York would turn red. That would be insane. Absolutely insane. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify. And we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.